This game, Dragon Age Veilguard, got a lot of hate when it first came out for, in fairness, fairly valid reasons. I think the overarching reason why it's considered to be an awful game is because the writing is actually really, really bad, and there's basically no decision making in the game. The characters are not very good. The character you play as really sucks. All voice acting just sounds awkward. All the interactions are really, really bad. And all this stuff I really kind of agree with. But I think it takes away from a lot of things that the game has actually done really, really well. And the overarching goal of a game, to me, is for it to be fun. And this actually succeeds, for me, really well in that category. Which has somehow led to me being able to complete it basically 100%, doing all the side quests, unlocking all the areas, and completing the main story multiple times. I've done it twice. I've done it once with a mage character, which is very fun, and once with the archer character, which I'm currently doing now. It's not just the writing that I think's bad, because looking at my character now, and I'm like, what even is this? What actually kind of armor is this? I mean, it looks ridiculous. It looks quite funny. So there is plenty of things to say bad, and I'll get into the bad stuff later, because I want to ramble about what I think could simply be changed, which would have made it a lot better, but hasn't been done. But in terms of good stuff, it's actually some of the most enjoyable combat that I've ever played in a game that I find incredibly satisfying. Hopefully I'm going into some combat here, yeah, so I've managed to find some. And particularly on this archer, as the mage, you just beam out this burst of like, well, it was necrotic damage I was doing, but I think you just do fire or ice or whatever. But you can just shoot out a beam. But with this, with the archer, you aim in, you can like slow it down, and you just aim for headshots, and boom, you just get headshots. And I don't know, all of this I just find incredibly satisfying. I've not gotten bored of the combat at all. I've not found it annoying at all. You can as the rogue, I think it is, you swap between arching and like doing this, but I never really did that. That's not that fun. But just aiming and going, ooh, headshot, boom, and then taking them out. Very, very satisfying gameplay. Very, very enjoyable. And I think it's kind of overlooked because of all the other bad stuff and the bad writing. I suppose the biggest issue with this is that Dragon Age, and the whole point of the previous games, as I have learned by playing them, is the fact that they're focused on characters and focused on writing. So if that's not there, then the fundamental point of the game kind of just fails. I even found like things like this, just unlocking things, you know, you get anything. It's all simple, it's all really basic and really easy. Nothing's overwhelming. I like it games. I think games go over the top trying to make things too good, too much, and then it is just too much, and then it's just too much things to do. This is simple, easy. The puzzles are satisfying, you know, they make me feel smart because they're really easy but still have enough satisfaction. I'm not ever getting stuck and having to actually look up an answer outside of the game because it's just too complicated for someone who just wants to play and not, you know, overly strain their brain. But yeah, really, I think the combat is some of the best combat that I've played. And I think about some other games. I remember when I first started playing this, I also picked up Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I played it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I like the world. It's going to the UK. That'd be cool to see it. I played that game for about 6 hours and then I just kind of went, I'm actually just really, really bored. I don't feel like I really get what this game wants me to do. The story isn't really pulling me in. It kind of wants me to go out my way. I don't know if it wants me to raid things or not, or when I do this, upgrading my village. The armor is all over the place. There's just too much, too many details. I just couldn't be bothered. It was too much effort for me to sort of figure out how to play that as a game. And it just wasn't, I don't know, nothing hooked me in it. Whereas this, it doesn't have that. It's all really easy to play. You don't really have to think in the slightest. You can just, you know, kick it on, shoot some things in a satisfying way. The story, the quests are easy, they guide you. The map, usually you look up and it'll just have the few quest things you can run over. I'll get onto the UI because I think that's quite good as well. But it just never really bored me. I never just got fed up of not knowing what to do or not really understanding how we're supposed to play the game. So I think there's actually a lot going for this. Quite a lot of good stuff. And the thing is with the writing, the actual, for me, the overarching story, I actually don't hate in this game. The gods, I think, it feels like it ruined. Oh yeah, you die when you jump in water. That's a bit silly. It feels like it's a bit silly, like it kind of takes away the mystery maybe of what like the gods and things are. But then that kind of had to be the natural progression of the story. Otherwise, where would it go? What would it do? And you're basically trying to stop, Solas from doing something, opening the veil and all this kind of stuff. I won't get that into it. Play it if you really want to know. So what am I doing? Discover the God's Ritual. I'm looking for the God's Ritual location now. As I replay an old save, just so I had some footage to put on in the background. So yeah, the Overwatch, and I don't think that's bad, and I don't think the ending was too bad. It kind of just expects what you happen to expect. It's just a bit weird, let's go team, unrealistic dialogue between the team members, and how the whole weight of this world depends on this one random guy with a bit of a stupid name, Rook. Well, I'm a guy, you can be a girl, obviously. Yeah, so like it's just this sort of inner workings are really, really badly written. But the overall story I didn't hate. And also what I really don't hate, which I actually like, and I think a lot more games who think they should do an open world should actually maybe think maybe we should do a closed open world instead, which is the map. I mean, I look at this and I think it looks quite good. I like the design of this city. I don't know if I really like the design of characters, but then it also does look like a game, which is I think something games should do more, rather than trying to always look hyper realistic. But I think this looks really good, and I think the fact that all the worlds are closed off and you can only go in certain areas allows them to design things in a lot better way. So when you look off into the distance, I only probably can see this building from this angle. I probably can't see it from the other one because it doesn't let me go there. So that means I learned to design this, and it makes it more immersive, and you can look at the world as maybe intended by someone who had a vision. And then when it's a closed open world, it's a lot easier to then... Ooh, I've got a fight. To guide the player through the world in which way you want them to go through, and that's what I think makes it enjoyable compared to something like Valhalla, where you kind of just dumped into this open world with not really any direction. It's my complaints about Borderlands 4 as well, which I want to make a video on, saying like every reason I think Borderlands 4 kind of sucks compared to 1, 2 and 3. I think 3 is a better game as well. And it's because of this just cluelessness in this open world, where I just don't really understand what it wants me to do. It's kind of expecting me to figure out how to play the game and how the game should be played, instead of asking, instead of giving me options and thinking about it. Whereas when it's a closed open world, I guide you through it, and as I play the game, I can go to new areas and unlock new areas as I progress and I complete the thing, and then I go, oh, I've got this whole new area now, and then it unlocks a side quest, which then you can do. And the way it kind of always gave me something to do. I never felt like I had, I never feel like I'm bored and that there's just run out of stuff to do and I've now got to figure out more or just do the story or whatever. So yeah, the map is really good. I don't mind the lighthouse area, the hub, that's okay. And I shot him. Another thing I quite like is not necessarily the personalities of the companions, but a big issue I have in games like Baldur's Gate and Dragon Age, previous ones, the Inquisition, is I do not want to sit there reading and reading and reading and reading every single skill tree and possible skill so I can kit out 4 characters. It's just so time consuming and boring, and I think it's an overwhelm. I think it's something games always just, we'll chuck in as much as we can, but for me that's just completely over top. Whereas with this, how do I go onto the menu? Where am I? On skills. This is so much simpler. You can see, you can go, okay, I want to be this. I want to do bows, so I don't really have to think about half of this. And then you just basically pick the skills and you go out. But what's good is for companions, there is none of that. You can kind of just go on their skills and you just pick random ones. And it basically makes no difference to the game at all. I mean, I don't know what the game's like on higher difficulties. I don't play on high difficulties. And also, their armor is just for them. I don't have to decide whether it's best to give this... was it Archivist's mail to her or to someone else, because it's for her. You just equip the best one, you don't have to think about it, your character's progressed, you get that for a reward, and it's simple. I don't have to now spend an hour customizing and figuring out 4 characters. I can just play the game. Some people might like doing that. Some people might like sitting there at the beginning of Baldur's Gate 3 and customizing 3 or 4 characters, whatever it is, and doing all their perks and deciding what you want to do with them and what armor they're going to have for like 7 hours. But I do not want to do that at all. which is what I think is really, really good about this as well, and something that's quite underrated in games, the simplicity of skill systems. Which is the reason why I think Skyrim's good. People complain about it not having enough perks and stuff, but I think it nails it. I think it gets the simplicity of it right, and the amount of them right, and I think going too many just ends up making it too overwhelming and frustrating for me to be asked to bother playing. The other thing about this then, as I look into that, I think I quite like the UI. I don't see any issues with this at all. You know, the map's fine, you got the local map, and then this is the sort of open world, but it's not really an open world, it's closed, but you can quite easily just travel everywhere. Some places lock off and things like that, but all these places look decent. You know, they're all noticeably different as well. Like, this place is like a wasteland. This place is like a dock town. It looks like a town on dock. This is a forest. This is all like as it looks. I don't know what kind of architecture you would describe that as. That is a coastal area. That is something random. But I find like in a lot of games it can be a bit over. Everything can kind of just look the same. It's only something I've just thought of now, but all of this stuff does actually look quite different. Every world, every area feels like the Necropolis Halls. Feels like you're in a Necropolis Halls. Just go there, just have a look, because this is one of the cooler places. This is so different. You feel like it is like a necropolis compared to some games where they just feels like the same. And this place, I mean, the fast travel clearly very quick as well. Oh, it's put me into a cutscene. This will be a prime example of really, really bad dialogue and
Darkspawn have been spotted
in the villages. Yeah, all of this stuff. That's why I skipped it the first time. And then you get 3 options. You get good, joking, which is basically good, and anytime you pick bad, it's usually just good anyway. It's not like in the Inquisition where you can like literally punch Solas in the face at some point, I think. I have no idea what this is about, I can't remember. Where was I? I was talking about the UI, wasn't I? So yeah, I think this is all very good. It's intuitive. It's not complicated. I don't know what all of this stuff is. This is extra stuff you can look at. I can't be bothered to look at. Companions then, it's easy to just skip through them all. Usually just pick the 2 favourites. And then character. And I found the weapons and stuff, it's easy enough. You just kind of pick it. It's not that much customization. But then, and it's an area that could be better. Definitely, and the way it upgrades, you know, if you find multiple of the same weapon, you get this like +7 and things like that. But the legendary stuff I quite liked. That you typically get for killing a boss, and it's quite like, ooh, I wonder if this will be better. And sometimes they'll have different perks, and sometimes not. You get like unique ones that will have like this one basically makes you 1 arrow overpowered, but then you only get 1 arrow if you want to play in a bit of a hard mode. So this was all quite decent. You know, it's not the greatest RPG ever in terms of armor and stuff like that, but I think it does better than some other RPGs. Like The Witcher 3 is like my second favourite game of all time, and I don't think the armour and the weapons in that are very good at all. I think this does it better. I found it more satisfying and enjoyable to collect things. I found The Witcher's sort of armour system a bit boring. So yeah, I made my guy really fat. But there is obviously a hell of a lot that isn't great, but most of it does come down to the dialogue and the writing. Why am I here now? Let's just go back to an area where I might be able to find things to kill. And I think it's just frustrating because when we're looking back at the old, even Dragon Age 2, which I think was made in a really, really short period of time, which is why it all looks exactly the same. Let's go back here. The depth of characters was so much better, and the interactions you can have, whereas in this, you can't. And the main fundamental reason that this got so much hate is basically one of the characters called Tash and the whole non-binary storyline. From a marketing perspective, I really don't know why they put that in. There was only one way that was ever actually going to go down, but maybe they thought the Dragon Age audience wouldn't have hated it. But I think anyone could have foreseen a mile away how that would have gone down on YouTube, and various streamers saying that. But it's not even really in the game that much. It's such a small part of the game, which is why it's a bit of a shame that that had such an overarching reach on everyone's opinion about it, when it's actually such a negligible part that you can basically just ignore. You can actually, if you don't really want to deal with any of that, you can just ignore the character, not do any of the quests, and I think she just dies in the end then, because if you don't help the characters, they just die in the last mission. Spoilers. So, and it's all completely irrelevant, and I guess, you know, if a few lines of dialogue and a few things like that mean a whole game, in someone's opinion, is just going to be bad, then I think maybe that is not a good mindset at all. And that shouldn't completely destroy every other element of the game, because it's just not that deep. But what I think could be a lot better is there's not really any choice. You can only really be nice to people. So, I've just given some money there. What they should have done is actually, say, let's take this non-binary character for example. As real life proves, you know, some people go against it, some people are for it, some people don't care. So maybe your other companion should have been represented that. You should have had characters who hated her, some characters loved her, some characters just didn't care, and you then as the player would have to interact as you want to do, and if you decided to help her and side with her, some characters would hate you, and this would apply to everything. You know, one of your companions is literally an assassin who steals babies and murders loads and loads of people, and it's just like treated as like a let's go friends, let's go team, he's so good, he's such a good guy, and it's like, no, he's actually an awful person. Most of the people in your team in this should probably dislike the guy who, you know, probably has killed several kids in his life. But everyone's just like, yeah, we like him. And he's like possessed by a demon as well. But you should be able to, like, it should actually have an impact. And if you're siding with him, other characters, like... let's have a look at the characters. Other characters, like, companions. Like her, who's a very good character, goody, you know, seems like a really... cares about the forest, cares about nature. She should be like, well, I dislike you because for some reason you're really good mates with this Lucanus guy who's literally an assassin and probably has killed millions of people. Tash is the non-binary one. You can literally just ignore her if it affects you that much. But also, she's kind of has like a cool story, to be fair, about like fire breathing stuff and things like that. It's quite interesting. Quite actually, that was actually some of the... That's another point, because all these characters, you've got the overall story, but then all these characters have their individual stories, their individual quest lines, which actually as overarching stories, I thought were quite good as well. Like, she's lost her brother and he's possessed by some other thing. That was good. Davrin's griffins have gone missing and this weird, like, zombie thing has taken them. Then that's quite a good one. He wants to become immortal and become like a lich, and that maybe wasn't the best one, but that was quite good. Harding's was not interesting at all. It was about dwarves and mountains and stuff like that, but I think if you cared about the lore of this game, that probably would be more interesting. His I didn't think was that interesting. I can't really remember. No, it was, because there was a guy, then he betrayed them, and there was like a massive pool of blood, and it's like, who did it? Hers I literally don't remember, and hers was quite good as well. So the stories, the overall things are quite, and that's what I think is kind of a shame, because it's just like the inner workings, the dialogue. It's just the dialogue, really, and the way that you can't react to any of these characters in any way. It should be that, no, maybe Nev, for some reason, she's just like, she's a mage, and she maybe thinks that becoming immortal is a terrible idea, and you should never do it, and it goes against, you know, nature of life. So if you decide to help Emmerich become immortal, she'll say, okay, I don't like you, I'm leaving the group, and there's an actual consequence to your decision. That's what they needed, I think, in this game. They needed, you know, things to actually matter. And if you wanted to be mean to people, you would be mean. And some people would like that. Lucanus, as an evil person, would probably like you if you were mean to everyone. But then others wouldn't. But then if you're a really, really nice, you know, goody person, then he'd probably think you're really boring and not be interested and not want to follow you. And there'd be actual consequences. If you just complete every quest, everyone just lives happily ever after. No, they don't actually. Harding or someone dies, or Davrin them out. So there is a death. But most things just end well. And it's kind of just a bit of a missed opportunity for something I don't really feel was that complicated. Just to add a tiny bit of actual consequence to your decisions. You know, nothing really matters. And that's kind of the problem. And that's, I think, what gets it so much hate, because it's part of a franchise where everything is meant to matter. That is kind of the main part of the franchise. But back to the original point, though, is actually just a fun game to play, and I can't remember when it came out, but it was the most fun game I've played in a while that I actually 100%ed. There's some cool things to kill, like dragons and stuff like that. They're enjoyable battles, and it's quite satisfying to then get the chest, which has really good gear at the end. And it's satisfying to headshot these things, and then there's like the bosses and things, then you encounter them, but you can't always just kill them straight away, so then you level up, typical RPG thing. Boom, boom, boom. So, if this game is less than 20 quid, I'd recommend getting it. I wouldn't recommend probably paying any more than that for it, to be honest. But you get a lot, and there is a lot of waffle. If you were to listen to every single bit of dialogue, you would probably spend up to like 40 hours playing this game. If you were to skip a lot of the boring cutscenes, you'd probably get it to under 30 hours. But yeah, I think that kind of covers it. I don't really know what else I can say. But yeah, I agree with all the issues it has. But I don't think it deserves as much hate as it got. And I know it had a lot of problems. I've heard the development had a lot of problems. But I think there's a lot of good things in this game that I see, and elements of simplicity that I think are underrated in games where things are constantly trying to be made more complicated. But then that, to me, just takes away from the main parts of what should actually just be fun. So, cool. And the armor kind of looks silly. Like, what is that? It just looks completely ridiculous. I think they knew that the helmets were so ugly and horrible. There's literally an option to tick on, which I did in my first playthrough, to just not show the helmet because it visually looks so dead. Oh well. Anyway, that's it. Bye.